with the house, and it's not going to be subject to any penalties with the VA. So for the house, what we do is we set up an irrevocable trust. With your living trust, if you guys remember, you set it up, you're the trustee, you're the beneficiary, you have complete control of everything in your trust, right? And even if you become incapacitated, your successor trustee has a fiduciary duty to you. They have to use anything that's in that trust for your benefit. So if you put the house into a living trust and then it gets sold, that money has to be used for your benefit so it doesn't avoid any kind of a penalty for the VA. And so if we set up a different type of trust, which is, like I said, an irrevocable trust, you're going to give up some of your power on paper. Really, it's only on paper. So when I set up my, if I meet all the other requirements for VA, but I have a house, and let's say I'm going to move into assisted living, and typically that's what happens, right? When you move into assisted living, you're going to rent the house or you're going to sell the house. That's usually what happens. Nobody wants the house in their vacant. If they rent it, now they've increased their income and they may not be eligible for benefits. And if they sell it, now they have cash and they're definitely not going to be eligible for benefits. So if you put the house into an irrevocable trust, then it's going to offer you a lot of protections, because number one is the trust says that I am no longer the beneficiary of the trust. I'm not the trustee and I'm not the beneficiary. So I have to appoint somebody else to be the trustee and the beneficiary of that trust. Typically it's going to be my children. Most of the time it's the children that will step in. So if I set up an irrevocable trust, I give up my authority, my power as trustee and my power as beneficiary, and appoint my daughter to be the trustee, then the VA looks at it as, okay, well you have no control over this trust now, so we're not going to count any of the assets in that trust. But it only works for the house because the house is exempt. It doesn't work for the cash anymore, because the cash you have to transfer prior to application.
That's including 3 years look back?
That doesn't include it because the house is exempt, remember, so you can do whatever you want with the house. But for the cash, it would be a 3-year look-back period. So if I transfer my house into the trust, and now I've given up any control I have in the trust, basically going forward, I have no access to anything in that trust. I have no control over anything in that trust. So whatever happens in that trust is separate from my VA application. So anything that's exempt, you can transfer into that irrevocable trust. And so then, if the family decides we want to rent it, they can rent it. The income will stay in the trust. The trust has its own tax ID number. It files its own tax returns if it has income only. And if I sell it, if the house gets sold, same thing. The money stays in the trust. It's got its own tax ID number, so it's never linked to the veteran's Social Security number.
Is it just for California or for?
That's a federal. The VA is a federal rule, so you can do that in any state for VA purposes. But really, I mean, that's all we can do now, is we can protect the house. And like I said, the house is exempt anyway, so if the family plans on keeping the house, maybe they have family members, or maybe there's a spouse that's still in the house, then you don't have to do anything. Just make sure it's in a living trust to avoid probate. But if the family thinks that they might sell or rent the house, then setting up an irrevocable trust would be a really good idea. Okay? So really, all we can do for the VA, we can protect the primary asset for most of us, which is our house. So if the family wants to sell it or rent it, we can protect it. And if they have more than the $124,000, usually the best we can do is plan ahead and transfer everything into an irrevocable trust so that they can be eligible in 3 years.
Irrevocable trust is really not giving you power away. You still have control in a way.
Right. So with an irrevocable trust, I am saying I'm not the trustee, I'm not the beneficiary, I'm appointing, in my case I only have a daughter, so I always say my daughter. But if my daughter, let's say that my husband went into a nursing home, I'm at home, and I'm perfectly healthy, but I did all this planning because we wanted to make sure we're eligible for benefits for my husband. So if I say to my daughter, hey, Andy, my daughter's name is Andy. Andy, I went to Toyota, I need a new car, and I already went to Toyota, I already negotiated a deal, I need you to write a check out of the trust because I need a down payment for a car. And if she says, Mom, I don't think you need a new car, I'm not writing you a check, which my daughter would say that. So she's not my trustee. So she says, I'm not doing it, Mom, you don't need it. I have the right to remove her. So I say, okay, fine, you don't want to do it? You're out. I'm firing you as my trustee, and I'm going to appoint somebody else to be trustee. Because as the settler of the trust, I retain the right to always change my trustees and always change my beneficiaries. So if she really makes me mad, not only can I remove her as trustee, but I can remove her as a beneficiary. And she gets nothing when I die.
Can you have more than one trustee?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can have two. I don't recommend more than two, maybe three, but one or two is typically the way we do it. You can have multiple trustees.
And they would have to come together on whatever it is.
Right, right, right. So yes, you can have multiple trustees if you want. You can have co-trustees. So you really are retaining a lot of control, but on paper, you don't have it. But you do have the right to remove and replace your trustees and your beneficiaries at any time. So, and just to kind of give you a little more idea of what you can do, let's say the same scenario that I gave you. My husband's in a nursing home or assisted living, and I'm perfectly healthy, and then my husband passes away. And I'm going, hey, like, I want all my money back because it's all locked in this trust now, and I have to go through my daughter for everything. Well, the language of the trust says that she cannot give me any money because I'm not the beneficiary. So she can't give it to me, but she can loan it to me if I wanted to, right? So I can sign a promissory note and say, I promise to pay back the trust, the $150,000 that I'm gonna borrow, and then I can have all the money back in my name if I wanted to. So she can't give it to me, but she can loan it to me.
And all you need to do is sign a promissory note.
Sign a promissory
Nothing else
note.
needs to be done.
Yeah. And then at the end of, when I die, yeah, there'll be this promissory note, but it's all part of my trusts anyway, one trust or another trust. Yes.
She has to agree to that promissory note?
If she doesn't agree, I fire her.
Right.
Yeah, so yes, all of you have to agree. You have to sign the promissory note. Because remember, she has to write the check to get the money out. So, it sounds scarier than it really is, saying irrevocable trust. And people come into my office and they say, well, an irrevocable trust means I can never change it. That's not true. Irrevocable means you can't revoke it. It doesn't mean you can't change it. Yes.
Does she have the authority to spend your money in the way she sees fit? If she wanted to go buy
She
herself.
does. She does. So you have to have somebody that you trust. It's always somebody that you trust. But she also has authority. Let's say that my husband is in assisted living and we don't have enough income to cover it. She has authority to spend the money to pay for assisted living or caregivers. So even though she can't give us the money directly, she can use the money for things that may be beneficial to us.